welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, including my latest and greatest Patreon, which is Rod. So a big shout out to you, my friend, for joining me on Patreon. Also, Kimberly Schmidt, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, JMails24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So in the middle of yesterday's live show, I did actually do an impromptu shout out to what I labelled as the sponsor of the show, which is the Patreons. So hopefully you all caught that in the middle of yesterday's live show. I even did it on camera. That's how grateful I am. And it is with sincerity that I did do that shout out to all of you who support me on Patreon. So another massive thank you to all of you. And indeed Rod, who I think that shout out appealed to him, or that call to action appealed to him, and he joined as a member, or a Patreon I should say, almost immediately after I did that. So big shout out to you, Rod. Thank you very much indeed. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
So anyways, hello Nathan.
Oh, hello. How's it going?
And oh yeah, yesterday I heard that there was some sound difficulties in Discord, like there was crackling or something like that. So I'm gonna stick around in Discord for a bit and make sure that's not around anymore.
Okay, could have
Maybe it
been
was
me.
just
Hopefully not.
yeah, because somebody said they heard you say you fiddled around with some sound stuff, right?
Nah, no, all of that stuff's been long set now. So in that regard, the software side of things is well and truly set in stone.
Okay.
After
I
a
noticed
couple of years
one
of
deck
fiddling
was
with
cracking.
it. That's a different story, a different headache that I eventually got to the bottom of.
Okay.
You know what the solution was for the crackling? A completely new PC. Shocking, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that thing. Yeah, there was something that kept coming up every now and then, and that's what I noticed in my last video. It was like a crackling coming in every now and then. I'm like, oh, how did that happen? And I only made 2 changes. I turned it to 60 frames per second instead of 30.
No. That's not what causes the audio crackling. The audio crackling is caused by a couple of different things within audio processing on OBS, if that's what you're using to record. Is that what you're using
Yes.
to record? Yeah.
Yeah, I switched to OBS.
Could be all sorts of different things. All of them have got issues. Could be a conflict with Banana if you're using that as a mixing desk. If you're not, it's more likely than anything just that you're using a mono microphone. And by using a mono microphone, what happens is OBS will sum the second line, which is right or left, depending on how it's wired, to infinity, which isn't a problem. It just means that the overall volume that you get from one line is generally less than 2 lines. So you sum it and get the extra 6 dB. But that means that everything else that's nicely tweaked and set up beautifully on OBS will overload at minus 6 dB. So 6 dB below 0 dB, which is typically where you should expect to see distortion starting to creep in. Well, no, with the mono mic, it distorts at minus 6. Now, that can be exacerbated further if you've got the same thing happening in Voice Meter Banana. In other words, that can do the same thing. It sums to mono and then causes distortion at minus 6. So that whole balancing act is a different story. So that particular distortion was a different distortion that I was chasing down something that was very different. It was something clipping when nothing was clipping, no lines were clipping, but that's what I could hear randomly when there wasn't even anything loud. I'd be like, just been shouting and then go to talking normally and you'd be like, that's a horrible sound. I don't want that in my recording. And I couldn't get rid of it at all in the old computer. But there we go.
Here we go.
But that's an old issue. Dealt with a long
Have you
time
ever
ago.
tried messing with the gate of the
Sound
audio?
Earth
People's
debate.
audio?
Sorry, Neil.
I didn't think I was being heard.
You've joined a live show?
Yeah, but I said like 5 things.
I didn't think
Anyway,
I heard. I'm mic'd. I'm in a stream. I'm part of the panel. I'm off mute. What are you talking about?
I said 5 other things and you just kept talking. Anyway, I did hear something coming from One Deck the other day when he was talking on the show. It was yesterday's show I listened to. I was hearing cracking and popping. So I don't know if that's it. What you're just talking about.
No.
Nathan's coming clear, but when Neil's talking, there's a bit of crackling, like very faint.
It could just be Neil.
That's what one of my mods says. He says when he heard me on the show, he said I was crackling or didn't sound that good, but he said you sounded fine. So it was the problem was in the G plus not coming out clear in Discord. So if
Righteous, I did have an issue to the week. Beaver Buzz contacted me during the show. I was listening to the show. I was locally muted, but he said there was disturbance coming through, so I had to just jump off the show. I don't know why that was happening. It was
I
a
had
bit
to
strange.
mute the line in the end. But yeah, it's just those are anomalies. I'm not going to start flipping switches and changing settings because those are just software anomalies within the software of OBS or with that notwithstanding. I'm just saying these are software issues within Discord.
So you do push buttons when you have to.
Yes.
Anyway, my car died again. I think this is the last of it. I think it's dead. It's
Oh, no.
over. Yeah, somewhere in one of these parking lots. I think it's the starter again.
I get
Sounds
straight.
like
You're
the
going to moan
starter
about
again.
me talking about pushing buttons and the process of the show so you can talk about your car. Okay?
Yeah.
Fine. Pot kettle.
Anyway, what do we got, Ted? What do we got?
Well, we got the continuation of yesterday's review and whatever else Nathan wants to do.
That's all it is. I've even titled the show in advance, so it's Invicta 2. I just have to scroll past about 50 billion messages in Master B to find it from yesterday, I guess.
You want me to post it for you?
I've got
The
it.
actual
I've got it.
video
I've got it.
again?
No, I've just found it.
Okay. Man, you scroll 50 billion. Pretty. Are you sure you're not AI?
I was just thinking the same thing. That was quick.
Very funny. Very droll.
Yeah, so it's
Apparently, the Suzuki range comes hybrid as standard.
No way.
Really?
That's amazing. Do you remember what minute we got to?
The
flat Earth
but you were
theory
going to
seems
save it for the live show, weren't you?
Yeah, but I need to get it prepped to where we got to. I can't remember. It's something like 4 minutes.
Well, just play it. I'll tell you, but I just play where you're at. I'll see if I heard it already.
long before humans caught on to the error of their ways. Let's now take a look at how they did so. But before we start, I must state that it will be very difficult to speak definitively, often favors the elite over the common folks. As we proceed,
we didn't do
I will
that.
largely be focusing on the historic start. I must continue to live on in various forms. It drew quite heavily on a flat earth model that must have its. Let's now take a look at how they did so.
Yeah, but just go
before we
there. I
start,
think you've
I
done
must-
this, but it's
Yeah,
a good,
this is-
good position because
Good. This is where we are. 3 minutes in. Wow, we really didn't cover much yesterday, did we? We never do.
no.
Amazing.
Well, it's that's the beauty of these things because they just do it, and since it's consensus, everyone does similar things. So everyone thinks it's science, it's true. Everyone's doing it, and then all of a sudden we do a review video, and we're just tearing each thing apart. Which, yeah, but if he's wrong, then Michio Kaku is wrong, and if he's wrong, then Neil deGrasse. How can? Oh, it's consensus science because they're not using real science to prove anything. It takes a while for people to figure out how the system is stacked against them. But these review videos show that.
Yeah, I agree. I like doing them. it's changed the direction of the show. It's never something I ever thought I'd be doing. In fact, quite the contrary. I'm like, I'm never going to cover other people's material because of the copyright implications.
I think
Or we
it's
could do a TikTok.
devastating for.
Here we
Go
go.
on, Gene.
Go on, Gene. Go on.
No, I just said we could do a TikTok. You know, they're like 45 seconds at the most. So
This is deja vu. I think I've been here before.
You know, I've got like probably 100 videos on TikTok now, yeah.
yeah, I see them. I'm
What I was going
subscribed.
to say was that the opposition that calls you names doesn't like this method at all.
How do you know that?
Oh, there's reverberation coming through different videos I'm watching. They're not saying it directly, but they are implicating, certain things, certain ways they talk. Because again, we're hitting them at the foundation of where their lie is. And the foundation of their lie, in one aspect that I'm looking at, is what does the common guy get when he punches in YouTube? Anytime he puts in flat earth or anything related to the subject. Well, it's the first 10 pages of nonsense. And we're going through those first 10 pages of nonsense and creating a library of response videos so that the average guy now could just say, oh, we got that one. Yeah, Nathan Oakley, FED did that one. Oh, yeah, we got that one. That was one of the first ones we did. And it's like, to counter this heavy loading on the first few pages, many pages, not few. I mean, I typed in your name trying to find you, and I had to go down so many. I can't remember how many pages I had to go down. I even typed in your name.
I found them right away.
I was going to say that's
Anyway,
recently,
we're kicking them right in the nuts now.
You might have found that that's changed recently.
Well, I hope so. But again, when you type in flat earth, you don't get you get these guys. So that may have changed recently, but this hasn't changed. But again, if you're in a military campaign and you want to win, you have tactic strategies, and you say, where do we hit this enemy to where less of our die, more of them die? I think we're doing it. We're doing it. The high priests are saying these things. It's funny. These videos are funny, actually. I laugh so much when I hear some of the commentaries. It's great.
Yeah, I kind of liken it like they won't come to us, so we'll go to them. We'll infiltrate, and that's what these videos are. They're infiltrating.
Hey guys, I got a count. So it's you type in flat Earth debate, 36 videos down. It's the Nathan Oakley, the Vice video. So that's 36 videos.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
And let me count to see where we get a flat Earth debate episode.
But man, that's not bad. I'll take that.
And that was
Device
39
video?
last week.
But I'm just saying, it's not 300, is it? It's not on the 50th page.
What's the device video?
Good point. What video?
Said the Vice video, Vice News.
Oh, Vice.
That's not me.
Vice.
That doesn't count. That's not taking you to my channel.
But that's what I said. That's what it was 36 in to find the Vice channel one. Now I'm trying to count to where we get an episode. I'm looking for an episode.
Well, did you type in my name? What's your search? What are you actually searching though? You're searching flat Earth debate.
No, I that's why. Yes, I put flat Earth debate, and in 36 videos in, I got the Vice channel one. Now I have not found a single episode of yours.
Yeah, it's because you haven't put a number. So flat Earth debate's too generic a term and has definitely stayed censored in that regard. You're not going to get to pro flat Earth debates when you type flat Earth debate as a general user. But if you typed in flat Earth debate 250 or 257, just for the sake of argument, there's a good chance that you will find that particular
You
debate
think these people know that?
quickly.
You think these people know to do that?
That certainly used to be the case. I haven't done that much searching to say how it's changed since it's been refined recently. But certainly back in the day when we were even being censored, if you typed in an exact debate number, you didn't have to scroll that far to find that debate. Maybe it's not the case now. Maybe that's got worse. I don't know.
I don't think people know that there's
Try it, Gene.
episodes. So
Gene, just try it. Type in Flat Earth Debate 700.
Need a little like countdown music. Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun.
I put Flat Earth Debate 800, nothing. I'm still
Really?
scrolling down.
Maybe a bit more specific with the number 823 or something.
Maybe chum the waters with some
All right, hold on. I
fish and
put
blood.
825. I'm getting a bunch of shorts. I see Professor Dave. I see Big Think, Vsauce. No Nathan Oakley yet. Paul M. Stutters, Dave McKeegan, Big Think, Jubilee.
Yeah,
no,
that all
nothing.
sounds very familiar. Yeah.
825. This is the Flat Earth Debate 825. Let me put in 1425. We have that many episodes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, we're not getting nothing like that. Same results. Any number, it seems to not change the order of the layout of the page. We're talking about the same 3 shorts first, and then we hop into Professor Dave's. So yeah, any number, I don't think I'm making a difference now. 1450, nothing. None of these numbers don't make a difference. Then you put 1700. Nothing. Numbers don't make a difference.
Yep. There you go.
Fair enough.
Finally found Nathan on a video 4 years ago, but this is way down the line. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, hey.
It's very real to see, how these TikTokers have never heard of you, I mean, it's just very possible. I'm surprised I typed in Flat Earth and I never saw Dave Wise now. That's crazy. Or the Gerwin guy or German, whatever his name is.
Jeranism.
No,
guy.
he got it right. German. That's what
German
Germanism
guy.
is. He's a German. That's what they
But
call.
that's crazy. I haven't seen them either.
That's what the black people call Puerto Ricans in jail. Germans. Just to let you know.
I'm a quarter German.
Get out.
Well, I guess you can spare a dime then.
Boom.
Man, that sucks about the episodes being censored. Like, you can't, if it ain't Nathan Oakley, you're not going to fight Nathan Oakley. But then who knows
Well, see-
that Nathan Oakley is Flat Earth, so.
But see, I use this to our advantage again because I'll say, you're heavily censored. No, we're not. Yeah, you are. Watch here, do this. And I just do what you just did. And I'll say, how come the show that I'm a panel member on daily cannot be found when it's like, if you want to know what Flat Earth is, that's like the show. And then the defense of Flat Earth, that's like the show. And then why do you get all these other ones? When you type in generically, maybe you wouldn't find us. But what if we just type in the way Gene just did? Why are we so far down? Not on the. I mean, is the algorithm that imprecise, or is it on purpose? What do you think? And it's like, you got a point there. So the controlled opposition, as well as our antagonizers, have the front 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages. And what
Okay, just
guy
found out
is
something a
gonna-
little different.
What?
Okay, so if you put in a number, nothing, but a second you put in live, you'll get the exact episode you're looking for. You'll be 1453, whatever. If you put live, actually, never mind. No, live didn't help anymore.
Yeah, they just figured you out.
They
you see,
just
we can
got me right
use-
there.
This is Tokyo Rose for me, if you all know what I'm referencing.
But I think the point Gene's making is, even if you know the exact term and phrase and you type it in, there's a good chance that what you'll find is stuff that, number one, isn't a debate, right? If you're finding Professor Dave, it'll just be an anti-flat Earth video. It's not going to be a debate. But That's,
I'm
that's how
making
far
that
you get,
point.
even if you know the terms you're searching for, and you can do
What
two or
was
three.
that was pissing me off is
Two.
that, you know, Professor Dave, never did I in my type I put flat earth debate live. That's 4 letters. I mean 4 words. And I still can't find you. And you know, I get Professor Dave and like, why do I need to see this? Like, isn't it to narrow it down, the what a search engine is, to narrow it down to the likelihood of it, right?
No. It's to allow the
No, that's an algorithm.
controlling person to guide you in the path they want to guide you. Obviously, it's not just to give you free reign of the internet and allow you to search for all things related to what you're typing in. You know, that's a complete misconception of what a search engine's actually doing.
It's an engine for a reason. They got some shit going on back there. Oh, did you see the new story on heating? Heating
Don't talk
means
to me about heating.
how
All
you
my heaters are broken.
No, heating means it's not an algorithm thing. Heating means TikTok and YouTube now there's actually someone pushing the finger on, you know, tipping the scales on Mr. Beast videos. Heating means it's a new term that they coined, that when the physical YouTube guys, they go in and heat a video, which means boost it more. A physical boost, that's what heating means. And they do it on TikTok. They just admitted to it on YouTube too, for Mr. Beast and other people. So as much as Mr. Beast tried to do, you know, pick out his thumbnails and do all this science, no, he was just being heated from the back. So it's a new term. You need to check it out. A lot of stories coming out.
Cool.
Did y'all hear me, or was I on mute?
No, we heard you. We're just warming up to your story.
God damn it, pun! You gonna kill me with these damn puns?
But again, like I said, you can use these things the way they do us. I just use it to explain what they're doing to us and wake up the sheep if I can. I mean, I'm calm with it because I know what's happening. So it's like, okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this. Then they'll do that. Then I'll do that.
Yeah, I think a story just broke. I think it was on New York Times or something like that, behind TikTok and YouTube. Basically, a physical boost. That's better than the algorithm. It's someone actually picking a content creator and pushing them.
And for a little donation, even more can happen.
We call them fees.
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Picked up a new Patreon from my little call to action yesterday. Hooray.
Call to action?
Yeah, in the middle of the show, I was like, this show's sponsored by the people of Patreon. Big shout out to all of you. Become a Patreon in the info box below, or whatever I said. Anyway.
I hope they don't get you there.
Have we heard anything from John yet?
No.
He's been popping in and out. Here's John.
Yeah, he's in now.
But I don't think I've
You
heard
there,
him.
John? Refracted.
Nope. Yeah, he's got a mic issue.
Okay.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Hey, I saw the Top Gun movie yesterday. They were talking about the curve of the earth. I had to give myself a little chuckle.
I know. I remember that line. That's the thing. They got put it in everywhere. It's the globe in every classroom, the globe in every background of something.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man Rising, Neil, Refracted Curvature was around, but he's vanished, it seems, and a whole bunch of people on Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, Sherry Bow.
Oh, well, see the enthusiasm level. It's a good job we do a pre-show. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Negative.
Impossible.
Need to establish a horizontal. Need to establish a horizontal plane first, not curve.
Right, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth that's reversed in direction before being proven?
Earthquakes. Hello, guys.
Earthquakes. A quick plug. Check out Quantum Eraser's live. I can't remember what he calls his feel free to join live stream that he did yesterday. Whatever it's called, that open panel. Right.
Yeah.
Yesterday's open panel. Open panel. Yes. Yesterday's open panel. About 2/3 of the way through, Quantum Eraser pulled apart Michio Kaku and his recent pseudoscience visit to CNN, I believe, just a mainstream news outlet, and it just ripped it to shreds. It was great. It just impromptu treatment in the middle of his feel free to join live stream open panel. So check that out, on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. I really enjoyed that. That was great. I'm pretty sure at some point someone had suggested we do it, and then we brushed past it for whatever reason and delayed it. We don't need to. Just go check out Quantum Eraser's annihilation of the pseudoscience, fallacy-laden, nonsense-ridden visit of Michio Kaku to a mainstream outlet to tell him that the Earth's core changes direction every 70 or so years. What a load of old crap. Most farcical of all our housekeeping questions, proven only by the exact same bouncing stuff through the ground, return angle signals that require a flat plane and such like. So there you go, check that out on Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. But that's it, we're just going to cover those two housekeeping questions today because we barely even scratched the surface of this video here, which is, let's just do a proper shout out for it before we get into it. Flat Earth theory, wrong. How was it debunked 2,000 years ago? And this is by a channel called Invicta. So as I would encourage others to do the same if they're covering me, I will put a link to this person's channel in the live stream chat so you can go and check him out. Obviously, you want to be as nice as possible when you go and check out his top quality, top-notch material that may not even be related to this subject matter. So be polite, be kind, subscribe to him. He might have some great stuff that you enjoy. I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever come across him. However, I have shared his link. Go and check him out.
Difficult to speak definitively about what people in the past thought about a given subject, at least in the general sense.
This is where we left off. His entire preamble in yesterday's show was to say that he has got the thoughts of these people from thousands of years ago, sandwiched in between him saying there's no way of him knowing and he can't possibly know.
The historical record is often incomplete, and when we do have data, it often favors the elite over the common folks. As we proceed, I will largely be focusing on the former of these two groups, and using them as a weather vane for the beliefs of the time.
So when it favours the elites over the common folk, you're going to favour the biased views to give you a weather vane to divine the thoughts of the people from the past. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I said yesterday, chuck a load of chicken bones in a bag and throw them out and read how they lay. And it's just as good as a weather vane, based on the biased literature of the time, which is what he's just disclaimed, right?
He could mean, again, he could mean, because it's like the data, the information we do have, it favors the elites, meaning they were rich enough to write it down. They had instruments to write it down. They had paper or whatever they wrote on at the time. He could mean that, but then again, the common folk didn't sail on ships. They were slaves or laborers on ships, and they never would be in the position next to the captain as a navigator looking at a map either. So what's he saying? I mean, all we have is what we got. It doesn't need to say common folk or elite.
Right. Quick mention of this, although we are in the middle of doing a reaction video, you can still just, as I state in every single intro, just join the stream. So if you go through the normal rigmarole of getting into a Discord server, which you may or may not be familiar with, it's not that difficult as far as I'm aware. There is a live stream queue, should the live stream not be immediately accessible because it's full, and then one of the moderators will join, just vet you, and then push you into the live stream, even though it's full anyway, so they'll just overfill it. If you did want to join to, well, same as I say in the intro, express your views on the nature of Earth. So check that out. If you did want to join, you can. If you did want to pipe up in the middle of this, if there's any new faces that are in the Discord server now, I'm just glancing over, then again, feel free to pipe up. This isn't like set in stone that we must have my words over the top of this video. If there's something that you object to, feel free. Anybody got anything else to add at this early stage? Nope.
That being said, I do want to state that there are a variety of practical ways that anyone throughout the ages could have come to their own understanding of the curvature of the Earth without requiring scientific advancement.
Okay, we covered this yesterday, but it's not in the purview of science, right? It's a concrete noun. If Earth's curved, a curved Earth, it's just, there's nothing happening. There's nothing for science to look into. Science, natural science, which is most definitely the remit of what we are in, that deals exclusively with cause and effect relationships, naturally observed phenomena, explaining why they happened. What's the cause of them? Yeah, there's no causal relationship if you're talking about your presupposition that Earth's a sphere. So this is outside the purview of science. You've also said that there's physical things that we can do. Okay, that would be measuring it. There's nothing really beyond that we need, and we've debunked the claim to be measurements of a sphere Earth. There is no Earth curve at the horizon blocking your view and having boats fall over it. There's no edge for boats to fall over called Earth curve. We've debunked it. 1st of Jan 2020. Black Swan. If Earth was a sphere, radius 3959 miles, then every distance to that geometric limitation that you claim boats fall over would be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the distance to the horizon in the Black Swan imagery is beyond those physical geometric limitations that you claim is a hill blocking your view of things beyond it. Because the hill that was supposed to be blocking the oil rigs in that imagery is beyond the oil rigs. Hills, physical hills, don't move with the weather. We've debunked Earth curve as a geometric limitation at the horizon. The horizon is not Earth curve. There is no measurable Earth curve, and where it was claimed to be measurable, we have debunked it. Again, this is not science.
But people would say, but people would say, where'd you come up with that 3959? I don't claim that.
Well, they came up with it because they had to derive a specific radial value based on the limitations of the stars that they've used to map the terrain. Well, one of those values is the minimum angle to Polaris. Well, that value, the area of equal altitude, the circle of equal elevation that is created at the minimum of Polaris, would give you a massive flat area. Well, that massive flat area gets renamed the equatorial plane and then further enhanced through the Haversine formula and conversions of all of these angles from a flat plane that they're measured from into a spherical globe model. Well, that equatorial plane that I just described with a minimum angle to Polaris becomes the equator, the outside edge of a sphere. Now, because these back engineer into the angle measurements to the stars, there is a very much fixed in stone radial value for the sphere Earth in the heliocentric model. You can't deviate from it because it has to work with the stars that are at its heart. And those stars at its heart were measured on a flat plane. So for anybody new to the show, in case you aren't picking up what I'm putting down here, the globe model is derived from a flat Earth. And the angle measurements that's used to create it cannot deviate when you've converted them onto a spherical surface at radius 3959. Once you debunk that measurement at a geometric limitation to your view as dictated by globe Earth geometry at 1.2 times the square root of the Earth's surface height v, there's no going back. There's no altering physical hills and rocks and spheres. They're just supposed to be in the way of stuff if they're in the way and not if they're not. When we show they aren't doing what physical obstructions to your view do, that's game over globe. That's the only claim of physically measurable Earth curvature. Again, I'll stress this one more time, third time's a charm. This is not science.
Well said, Nathan. Well said and very understandable. I like that you brought the stars in there. People can catch on to this. Beautifully said.
Oh,
Well, it's not our claim. It's not our claim that the Earth is a sphere with a radius. It's theirs, and it's easy to find. Just type in Google search, Earth sphere, what its radius. So these are all globe facts for globe measurements or calculations because it was never measured. So for someone to say that's not my claim, but I still believe I live on a sphere called the globe Earth, you say, okay, let's find out what the radius is. Just type it in right in front of him. In fact, use his own phone.
That's absolutely fantastic. I'm just looking at stats while I'm not paying attention to the fact that I'm not talking. There's 110 people watching. We're only 10 minutes into the show. Isn't that glorious? Wow. Fantastic. Thank you very much, all of you who shared the show. And if you haven't done so already, please share the show. Smash that share button.
Here are some simple methods of direct observation. One of the best test environments would be near bodies of water, where an observer could look out over a large, level surface and compare what they saw with expectations from a flat versus a spherical Earth model.
They can look over a level surface, and then decide if it's level or curved. Did I hear him right? I'm going to play that again. That was great. Let's have that again.
Could have come to their own understanding of the curvature of the Earth without requiring scientific advancement.
So they're going to come to their own understanding of the curvature. That would be to say that they're going to stand under the presupposition that Earth has curvature, and we're going to, walk along that road alongside people as they beg that question.
Here are some simple methods of direct observation. One of the best test environments would be near bodies of water, where an observer could look out over a large, level surface.
Look out over a large, level surface. What, like sea level? Because water at rest finds and maintains level. That's what water does. Very useful for building stuff. Like with water levels. The tool used to make sure things are level. As in, like parallel with the horizon. Okay, so we established whether or not your presupposition of Earth curve, when you beg that question, is going to work by looking over a large, level area and then...
and compare what they saw with expectations from a flat versus a spherical...
No, it was a prerequisite when you described it. It wasn't expectations of flatness when you described looking over a large, level surface, as is presented to us, because Earth is in fact flat. But we're going to compare those now described as expectations when looking at a level surface. They're not, but now they are for some reason, and compare them to the presuppositional begging the question fallacy that Earth, when looking at a level surface, is actually a curved surface. I see.
Earth model. Ships...
Oh, no, I missed that bit. No, comparing it to the model. Oh, right, so it's not actually taking your presupposition and imposing it on the view of the level surface. It's comparing the view of the level surface to a presuppositional reified model of an Earth with a curvature. I see.
Sailing over the horizon are a great example.
Sailing over the edge of Earth? No, we've debunked your Earth curve for boats to fall over.
A flat Earth model would have them disappear uniformly.
What flat Earth model would that be? Go on.
Okay, right there, sailing over the horizon. So any black swan picture, if you have a boat with the bottom up disappearance and the horizon is beyond the boat, then it's not Earth curve. It's optical. He just killed himself.
Yeah, cut to the shots from National Geographic where they have Earth curve claim to be getting in the way of a boat. And they show that the flag stripes on the boat that are dangled off the back of it are disappearing from bottom up. Ergo, obviously, Earth curve's blocking the bottom of the boat as it goes over the edge of Earth curve. Meanwhile, there's a horizon, that's Earth curve in their model, behind the boat. Behind where all this is going on is the horizon. That's a black swan showing that the horizon's not Earth curve, and whatever the hell they're claiming is going on with the boat with the flag disappearing is got sod all to do with the horizon being a physical limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in his model for his claim that he's holding up in false dichotomy strawman, as was covered yesterday. Kind of covering some of the stuff we've already covered, but there we go.
Formally, while a round Earth model would see their topsails disappear last. The latter proved true.
Really? So when we show that the horizon's beyond the geometric limitations at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet to make this nonsensical claim that boats fall over the edge. Well, when we show that, that debunks all claims. You only need one. That's why it's called the black swan. You know, once you show that not all swans are white, not all horizons are edges of hills for boats to fall over, then you've debunked all of it. The geometry is no longer holding true. We have done so. 1st Jan 2020. Black swan.
In the reverse fashion, a ship approaching from sea will first observe the tallest objects on land. Another variant on this would be to attempt to observe a distant object like a lighthouse.
So what he's done now is he's put this into a Muppet vision representation. So maybe he realises this whole ascribed malice. But in this representation, you've got the side of your own head being represented and the target that you're viewing. Well, behind it as the backdrop, you've got how the world actually represents itself to you. You don't see the side of your own head. You don't see geometric limitations, that's a hill, getting in the way of a mountain. Because the world presents itself in an optical manner as opposed to an orthographic manner, which is what this is, with you seeing the side of your own head. Well, the reason that is done is to remove all aspects of perspective, because in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that this orthographic side-on view with the side of your own head in view is based on, has all of the sizes of the targets remain the same actual size at all distances. So the size of the mountain will be presented as 1,000 feet, for the sake of argument, and that won't change regardless of if, at scale, it's 2.5, 3.5, 4,000 miles away as per the scale of the globe Earth in this diagram. Well, a mountain that's 3.5, 4,000 miles away is very, very small. But when you describe it in globe Earth maths, it's described in feet or meters to remove all aspects of perspective. And then the way they get around you noticing is by putting it in orthographic view and showing you the side of your own head, hence the term Muppet vision. So he's just bait and switched you into a geometry that you don't see the world in, so that you can describe perspective exclusive. That would be to say they've removed it and called it Earth curve. Mathematics for a world that you don't see. You don't see this. You don't see the side of your own head and the target at the same time at anything like these scales ever.
From ground level, or from a tall tower or mountain. As would be expected with the round Earth, the greater elevation reveals objects further on the horizon and
as would be expected on a globe Earth model. Yeah? So I don't see the side of my own head. And this distance, when you claim it in your geometry, which we've debunked at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet being the physical limitation to your view, here, that's a physical hill getting in the way according to this diagram. Well, the physical maths for an item that will change in angle your size, that's the size of its angle as it moves away from you at massive distances in this diagram, that will change. It'll get smaller. Ignored entirely in globe Earth maths.
behind the curvature. Another common method would be to look up at the night sky. It was quickly observed by travelers that moving north or south had a rather drastic impact on what was visible. In some cases, objects like the pole...
Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. Oh dear, this looks bad. Can I just point something out to you that these are elevation angles? Yep. And the angle to this star isn't acquirable off a curved surface. You have to establish the flat, level terrain or plane that you described earlier when showing the sea. That is to say, it's not perfectly level, but it can give you the horizon to establish a horizontal baseline over the flat surface that you are observing. And that is what you will and do and have and has been used to give you mapping and models, including the globe. However, when you then bastardize how that came to pass onto a globe surface, you end up with angles that aren't angles anymore. An angle's two straight lines meeting at a vertex, not one straight line and one curved line. So, Invicta, you fool, you clown, you moron. This is not an angle. This is a straight line meeting a curved line. I don't know what you'd call that. But that's definitely not an angle to a star to give you your origin story. And you're basing the fact that the flat Earth was debunked 2,000 years ago based on this, when this is proving Earth must be flat to get these angles. They're called elevation angles. How shocking that was the first question we opened the live show with. This isn't possible, my friend. This is a curved line meeting a straight line. That's not going to give you an angle to this star, ever. You need a flat Earth for that.
Pole star would have moved to a different elevation, while
What, like an elevation angle? So as you move away from it, the angle drops towards the horizon. That's two straight lines. You'll need a flat baseline to measure that angle, to observe this. To observe this in the first instance required a flat Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Earth is measurably flat. This origin story for a globe is not an origin story for the globe debunking a flat Earth. It's proving it. Because here we are with the inherent problem of claiming the globe surface is beneath your feet when you come to measure an angle to a star. You can't do it. You need a flat Earth for that. This Invicta proves we are on a flat plane. And the origin of your globe that you've foolishly bastardized into this angle measurement, which it is not, required a flat plane also to give you your Haversine conversion globe model. From a flat Earth angle measurement to Polaris to give you the equatorial plane we detailed earlier. So this proves a flat Earth, my friend. Bet you didn't think that was going to be coming your way after making this video.
other stars might even be obscured entirely. A bit closer to home, one could look at the Earth's shadow on the moon. The projection of a flat Earth would be expected to cast an elliptical
shadow? Who said it was a shadow? Oh, you mean in your heliocentric model given to you by Kepler, it's assumed to be a shadow? No, I don't assume that. Further to that, I don't assume an azimuthal equidistant projection flies in a sky vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. The people on this pizza pie that you're strawmanning us with, I don't claim this. And further to that, if it was, as you described here, all of the gas at high pressure that every person on every piece of land on this pizza pie you're strawmanning us with would fill this area of volume you think is real called space, outer space, a sky vacuum. I mean, the same is true for your globe model that was derived from angles that only work on an azimuthal equidistant projection if you're going to take elevation angle measurements. Because that can definitely be done on this model, but not on this one. So I don't know about these presumed to be shadows that you're barking off the wrong tree about when you assume Kepler's motions. Definitely not. But the sky vacuum is definitely a problem for both. Elevation angle measurements, on the other hand, have to come from the flat plane. Not that I'm endorsing this particular model based on the fact that it can work with elevation angle measurements, whereas this one can't. It's merely a false dichotomy that both sides are untrue, because it's got it set in a sky vacuum with assumptions of shadows, with Kepler's motion being the cause. And maybe he doesn't know that when he burns this little false dichotomy straw man. But I do. Wake up and smell the flat Earth roses. Earth is flat.
Shadow, while around Earth would cast a circular shadow. Again, the latter is true. Since our ancestors were well acquainted with the seas, travel, and the stars,
with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to them,
I think it's fairly safe to assume that around the world many common folks would have had the ability to clue in onto the shape of the Earth. At the same
why would they assume it's got a shape? I mean, if you're presented with a flat leveled plane, as you described earlier when you were talking about whether or not you would stand under the notion of having a flat surface actually represent itself as spherical in a model that you've reified, yeah, the common folk wouldn't ever want to take those steps beyond what you are now taking to affirm your already in place belief you were indoctrinated with. You general folk that look out over a flat surface wouldn't assume any shape, because the way that the land presents itself to them, or in that case the sea presents itself to them, doesn't infer any shape. Flat isn't a shape. Level's not a shape. So why would they be asking this question? Well, you're asking it because you've been told it's got a shape that doesn't work with elevation angle measurements, destroying the entire premise of this video.
Nathan,
Yes.
what's that? What's that phenomena called when the sun is above the horizon, the moon is above the horizon, and they see a shadow on the moon? Seleninium?
Selenian eclipse.
How is that possible?
The Selenian
Yeah,
isn't possible.
I-
That's why they call it the impossible eclipse in the heliocentric model. Why did you mention that?
That's right. So he's saying you see a round shadow, and then when that happens, it's the impossible round shadow because Earth's not in the way.
What about the
What's
red
going
bit?
on here?
What about the red bit? I'm colourblind, right? And I saw how red the moon went during the eclipse, admittedly with my fingers freezing, my wife having to take the final shot of the totality. But it wasn't a shadow. Yeah? I don't know what it is. I haven't got a clue. But I've looked at it, and it went red. It did not present itself in any way, shape, or form as a shadow. That is not what it looked like. I don't know where you're getting this idea from. Shadows aren't red. Right? That is not what they do. So, yeah, I'm going to say no. Your Kepler assumed shadow definitely what? Doesn't work on a flat earth straw man that does work with elevation angle measurements? Yeah, that didn't really get you very many house points, I'm afraid, my friend.
I don't want to overstate the obviousness of the Earth's rotundity. For centuries, many ancient scholars from India, China...
Sorry, what are you overstating? With the contradictory elevation angle measurements from curved baselines? Overstate what exactly? It's a shame I debunked it just before that balls out statement that, yeah, I'm really confident in how right I am. Oh, well, seems a bit stupid now, doesn't it? Seem a bit of an arrogant prick now that I've taken apart your total nonsense that did definitely prove a flat Earth. It was the only way you were getting angles to those stars, and definitely showed how it couldn't possibly work on a globe Earth. Yeah, your overconfidence seems a bit smug now, doesn't it? Unlike me, who's actually right, and rubbing it right in your stupid face, Invicta. Enjoy the aftertaste.
Also, he said the obvious nature of Earth's rotundity. Well, if it's so obvious, how come it took so long for people to say it's a globe?
The Middle East, and Europe would continue to posit a vast array of incorrect models for the Earth's shape. Several prominent Greek philosophers of the 5th and 6th century BC argued in favor of a curved disk.
Sorry, philosophers argued that no, we're going to need measurements. And the one that you offered, we debunked. You know, with boats falling over the edge of your globe Earth. I bet that really stings the anti-flat earthers when they hear me say that. So I'll repeat it. Yeah, boats aren't falling over the edge of your globe, Dumbo. Yeah, we debunked that in 2020. The horizon's not Earth curve. Hills that block things don't move with the weather.
Or cylinder. However, their peers would soon have a word to say about this. Among the Greeks, it was claimed that Pythagoras was the first to originate the idea of a spherical Earth. Born around 570 BC.
So what we've got is people originating the ideas of a globe Earth, as opposed to measuring it because it's self-evident. Oh, look how curvy it is. We better go and measure that. No, we've got philosophers musing on it. Right? That's what's actually happening. My battery's driving me nuts in this stupid mouse. It lasts about 5 minutes and then won't connect properly. Okay, let's just do a super chat. Everyone bear with me just for 1 second. Shout out to Godzilla37 who says, this super chat did not bounce off satellites to reach Nathan. It travelled on cables under the Atlantic instantaneously. Nathan can confirm it's true by it being wet when it reaches him. Let's just have a quick touch. Yeah, it is a little bit moist. I can confirm, Godzilla37. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really, really appreciate the support.
That's why we call it liquid cash.
Indeed it is. I'm going to do what I did yesterday, right at this particular point, which is to shout out my Patreons. So I got a new Patreon off the back of yesterday's call to action, so I'm going to do it again. Why not? But also to shout out my genuine and sincere appreciation for all the people who do sponsor this show. over on Patreon. So the reason this show keeps functioning and I can keep paying the bills or paying for a £20 battery for my mouse, which is horrendous, it's a battery, but it's because I've got support from Patreon, which is consistent. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful for it. So yeah, if you did want to support this show and indeed support me and keep the lights on at Flat Earth Debate, then check us out over on Patreon. Really do appreciate all the support I do get from all of the patrons already. So massive shout out to you. Please join me on Patreon. The link is in the info box below this video. Let's move on and cover the main bit of the show, which is actually this video, as opposed to me plugging my Patrons, which I do appreciate. Oh, come on, you can get there, mouse.
He was a prominent philosopher and mathematician who contributed much to the early field of natural philosophy. While we don't know exactly how he came about his belief of the Earth's shape, it is likely...
Why are we talking about this guy, this philosopher's belief about what the Earth has in terms of a shape? You know, number one, why are we assessing Earth with a shape? It's just a presupposition for your spherical shape that you've imposed on the ground after taking flat Earth angle measurements and taking the minimum angle to Polaris to give you equatorial values, and that's all you've done. God, this mouse is going to kill me. It's driving me nuts. Just play, come on.
That he would have relied on some of the simple observations we previously covered. Regardless of this uncertainty, his school of thinking influenced many that would come after him. Plato was one such individual who learned from the Pythagorean community in southern Italy. Upon returning home, the famous philosopher founded his school.
We're just jabbering on about philosophers and their musings. Where's the measurement? Isn't that what we're going to get? Don't we get a measurement? Do we just get boats falling over the edge? And then a Muppet Vision view showing you and the target without giving any of the breakdown of the maths that I ripped apart when I described it accurately as the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, and detailed why it's perspective hijacking in the respect to the physical measurements not changing in size when the feet and inches value remains the same at all distances in an orthographic view, as opposed to an angular size change that would occur when you move things away from you, especially at vast distances where they disappear completely because their angle is too limited. Well, none of that was detailed, but now we're talking about the musings of guys in togas. What the hell? Is this as good as you've got for the globe Earth belief that you have? Wow. Very low standards. I'm going to change mouse. I'm going to use the old one. This one just hopefully works.
School in Athens and proceeded to teach his students.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to fill in the gap while you change the mouse. So, yeah, I mean, the little bit that I've researched on the Greeks, they just love globes and circles. So, yeah, they're going to talk about it, dream about it, make their Narnia world about it. But where's the measurements, as you said?
We had it in the form of boats falling over an edge of a globe Earth that we don't have. Wow, 140 odd people watching, and we're just at halfway mark almost. No, just over. Please share the show. Hopefully we can get over 150. And well, I've said it before, and may do it again. We may, it's not definitely not a precedent, may extend the live show. 10th.
That the Earth was round.
Yes.
In his dialogue of Timaeus, for instance, Plato writes about the properties of the universe, stating that the Earth was, quote, in the form of a globe, round as from a lathe, having its extremes in every direction equidistant from the center.
Because...
While the model here is relatively...
All right, just moving on. I see. Well, that's compelling. What else did he say as you show us a map in 2 dimensions?
Accurate. We are still unfortunately kept in the dark regarding any proper scientific reasoning.
No. Scientific reasoning is the establishment of a cause and effect relationship through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis being a scientific prediction that has the null. That's a null result, no difference result. You won't cause the effect when you vary. That which you assume will cause the effect, which is the alternative side of the hypothesis. Upon variation of that which you assume cause the effect you're studying in step 1 of the method, that would be to say that you observe a phenomena, something occurring, then you can perform the method of science, natural science, the thing that advanced humanity. This is not that. It's not even maths when you talk about the musings of guys in togas.
As Plato's arguments in the passage are more concerned with the geometric perfection of a sphere.
So they're just interested in how perfect spheres are. That's got sod all to do with any measurement about Earth. And just their obsession with spheres. So they're like balls, okay? They're a bit obsessed with balls. That's lovely. Now, justify your superimposition of this ball fascination onto you, the fundy muppet promoting it. by saying, oh, we didn't have any scientific validity back then. No, you didn't have any maths or measurements. It was never open to science. Just do another quick shout out. So shout out to Chronicles of the Unconvinced. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, or she says, you don't need a mouse to control YouTube. J goes back 10 seconds. K, play and pause. L, forward 10 seconds. But here's £9 towards new battery. Oh, well, I really appreciate it. But yeah, I definitely do need a mouse. It's a fantastic mouse. It's a Razer turret that I bought and even made an unboxing video of 4 years ago. And the mouse has lasted 4 years, so it's not bad. It's just when you come to replace a battery and you look and go, £25 from China? What? There's got to be a better... No, £25, no. And then you look around and hunt around and find one guy that's got it discounted down to 20. You're like, this is a battery. How can it be 20 quid? Anyway, enough of my moaning. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support of Chronicles of the Unconvinced.
With regards to his beliefs on cosmology in general. Luckily, Aristotle, one of Plato's prize students, would provide more details.
More details about what? His musings? How's he going to give you more details? So far, we've got nothing. Literally nothing. It's based on the foundations of nothing. But we're going to get more details? Oh, how wonderful. You know, it's like somebody saying, oh, well, I mean, you know, they're trying to measure the unicorn's digestive tract, and they've got a good idea about, you know, how much food it eats. And, you know, given the fact that if you overlook horses, you can then decide mentally how many of them are actually unicorns. And upon so doing, there's no scientific validity to the unicorns. But, you know, that's all well and good, and let's move on. So, next man enhanced the unicorn notion by blah, 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 blah. No, there's been no foundation for any of this so far.
His work of 350 BC, entitled On the Heavens, he lays out his astronomical theory of a geocentric...
Sorry, it's not a theory. Again, peppering these words because you're an indoctrinated clown that doesn't know what they mean. Theory, when you're talking about natural science, this is in the realm of natural science, right? When you talk about things that are concrete nouns, you know, they're not open to scientific discovery, nothing's happening. But it's still within natural realm of natural science. So when they give you their musings on it, they're not giving you theories. Because that makes it sound like it's scientific. And we're under the umbrella of science when we have this discussion. So when we say theory, it has a very specific meaning in science. And that theory comes after what I detailed earlier. Cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation after scientific prediction for a phenomena that you observed in nature. That's something happening, not a concrete noun. Yeah. So no, this is not theory. Try and make it sound scientific. Yeah? It's not.
Centric universe with a fixed spherical Earth at its center. His stated evidence includes arguments such as the rounded shadow which the Earth projects on the moon.
Which we assumed. So based on the begging the question fallacy of a spherical Earth in a heliocentric... No, not heliocentric yet. You just said Earth-centric. So geocentric system, you're going to assume that we somehow have shadows created because of the spherical nature of these motion-filled bodies of mass moving around each other and blocking light. No, that's not the case. You know, you're just assuming that they are in a spherical motion around a spherical body, and then assuming that those spherical bodies produce shadows when a moon turns red, for example. No. None of these begging the question fallacies, built on begging the question fallacies, are going to stand here. We will rip them all apart one by one as you use them. Sorry if that's laborious for those who know what's going on.
And the change in constellations.
Hang on. Okay, so what's the current stance? Are we geocentric or heliocentric, the current view?
Sorry, I instinctively grabbed for the other mouse. It's, currently we are heliocentric, according to the rhetoric of the Western world.
Okay, so let's quote a guy way back then, some Greek, who got an obsession with spheres, and he says that it's a sphere and it's geocentric at the center of the universe. But today, their version debunks this Greek and says, no, he got that wrong. We're heliocentric. So here's the Greeks with obsession with spheres saying geocentric. And today we can say, this guy say, well, he was wrong about that, but he's right about the sphere. No, they just have obsessions about spheres. They still, to this point in the video, have not provided any proof that we live on a sphere.
as travelers voyage to northern and southern regions.
They did so using maps and angles to stars that can only be acquired off a flat baseline.
In addition, he also referenced the effects of gravity by stating that, quote,
Did he? Sorry, either version wouldn't have been Einsteinian, as that's only 108 years in existence, as the current rhetoric. So what, mass attracting mass? Definitely not. Einstein superseded that 108 years ago, right? Mass does not attract mass. So I don't know what you're about to launch into, because it certainly won't be fourth dimensional pseudo-Ramonian force-space-time bending.
quote, every portion of the Earth tends towards the center until...
No, mass doesn't do this. No, Newtonian gravity
Hang on.
doesn't exist. What's he talking about?
With Scientific American, George Musser, gravity is not a force. Eric Verlinder, gravity doesn't exist. How's this guy back then doing gravity when today they say it's not real? So all these years of believing in something that now they say was never there.
Yeah.
Really? This video is not doing so well.
Professor Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all, end quote. So I don't know what this guy's babbling about. Is he appealing to the ancients to validate a force that doesn't exist and has been superseded by a fourth dimensional space-time bending? I mean, that's not doing argument many favours that's already presuppositional, with a presuppositional layer as its foundation. I mean, this is terrible, really.
Until by compression and convergence, they form a sphere. Interestingly,
That's gravitational accretion. No, mass doesn't behave like that.
Aristotle even directly addresses some of the arguments of contemporary flat earthers. Quote, there are similar disputes about the shape of the Earth.
No. The shape is a presupposition you have that you then superimpose onto others and misapprehend or misappreciate, or whatever the word would be, for what a flat plane would be. That's not shape. You know, you have been indoctrinated to believe Earth has a shape based on the musings of these philosophers, and then ask us, in false dichotomy, what shape we should say it is. What, when we're looking out over the horizon that you described as a plane, that you would decide how you would stand under the notion of it having a curved surface? I mean, this is ludicrous.
Some think it's spherical, others think
No, you think it's spherical.
it's flat and drum-shaped.
So flat isn't a shape. Flat and drum-shaped? What? That's a new one on me. Drum-shaped?
That's a reference to the equatorial plane where all their angle measurements derive from. Wow, this is really interesting right now.
I don't know where the drum is coming from, but maybe you'll explain after.
For evidence, they bring the fact that as the sun rises and sets, the part concealed by the Earth shows a straight and not a curved edge.
Oh, really? No, you claim that that edge that we make no claim about has a limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, in this instance, you've got the bottom of the sun with a second sun attached to it. So, I mean, further to your claim that it's a physical geometric limitation, that's a bit of a weird effect that hills don't tend to produce. But that aside, we debunked your claim, which is the primary claim and only claim in this regard, that the horizon is somehow a edge or an edge for boats to fall over. Now you're saying the sun falls off it. Yeah, the sun goes over the edge of Earth curve as the hill gets in the way of the sun. That's the same claim. 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet would be where the physical hill blocking your view of the sun would be if it was Earth curve. Sod all to do whether or not its horizon is horizontal, because that's a premise that you must accept if you understand what the word means. That's what it is. Level being parallel with it. The horizon. Yeah, your claim is that things fall over it because it's an edge that boats can fall over. That line you call and I call the horizon. Even though it's creating some weird effect with the sun, it's not falling over it, it's producing a second one. Bizarre, not part of my claim, doesn't really jive with your claim that it's a edge for boats to fall over. But we have debunked that particular part of this claim, not that your strawman version of it for me, that I'm not claiming, will be held up in any way here. I don't have to defend what the bloody horizon is. What I know is what its useful application for elevation angle measurements is. And that's that you can acquire a horizontal with it.
Whereas if the Earth was spherical, the line of section would have to be circular.
No, that's not an argument I put forward. I said that if the Earth was a sphere radius 3959 as you've reified from the musings of philosophers, then every distance to that edge for boats to fall over in your view and the sun to go over in your view would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet. Can't be beyond that. It's a hill getting in the way. And the moment we show it is beyond those limitations, it's no longer a physical hill getting in the way. Maybe we could look into why that used to be an Earth curve hill for boats to fall over, getting in the way of the sun, creates this weird effect where it's now creating a second sun underneath it at the tip above the 4 million edge for boats to fall over. Maybe that's something we could discuss as a folly. But who gives a crap once we debunk it as Earth curve for boats to fall over? It isn't.
In this, they leave out of account the great distance of the sun from the Earth and the great...
Sorry, based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and Christian Huygens' assumption of that radius value 3959 being the same value as Venus, so you can get the scaling values and distances to call them great. Isn't it interesting how the flat earther knows exactly how your assumption comes to pass, but you're just telling us that it's far away? No, we have no idea what it is, and neither do you. But the musings of some philosophers who put it into a motion around a great attractor and put you in a motion around it and called it the heliocentric model has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on its actual representation to you in this instance, with a second sun underneath it above the physical limitation that we debunked in 2020.
Size of the circumference, which, seen from a distance on these apparently small circles, appear straight.
So you're making our argument for us. You're saying it appears straight. Well, that's one of the premises for the horizon that's utilised when you acquire an elevation angle measurement to the stars that couldn't work on a flat sphere Earth earlier. Yeah? When you showed them not being angles. Remember? Elevation angles.
Thus, through the work of great thinkers like Pythagoras, Plato, and Aristotle.
Pythagoras? I don't know about Pythagoras being a great thinker, but people who just measure things that exist will get my vote every time. They didn't do that. What they did do was muse about how the ground that must be flat to get elevation angle measurements for your maps might be curving, violating the very premises that's used to measure the maps and navigate the surface. Yeah, that's definitely not the case. They're idiots.
The round Earth belief began to gain traction.
That's all it was, a belief, and traction isn't what you need if you're going to prove it. You just need a measurement of it. You don't need science either, because it's nothing happening. If it's just curving, it's just measurable.
The further spread of Hellenism,
flat map,
with the conquest.
Why isn't this being presented on a globe? If this is the current Western world view, why aren't all the maps curving? I'll tell you why, because they need to work with elevation angle measurements. What's that you say? It came from a projection of a globe. Well, where did that come from? From elevation angle measurements to Polaris to give you an equatorial plane, so you can convert it by Haversine formula onto the globe model, to then convert it back onto the flat map that you need so you can match it up with elevation angle measurements. So your globe model came from a flat plane. The fact that you converted a flat plane to a globe to convert it back to a flat map so it's actually useful doesn't mean that the in-between stage is the overriding worldview when it comes to how the shape of the Earth is actually functionally useful. That's flat, not globe. Just like this diagram he's got on screen. Quick shout out to Godzilla37 again, who says, sailors used to sail by the globe, but it kept falling off the navigation table. And other tales from Narnia. Remember to support what you like. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed, Godzilla37. And I think someone's trying to get in. Let's just do that. Oh, God, I have to stop grabbing that mouse until I get a new battery. The Adam Meakin, welcome, sir.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
I'm just driving, so I might struggle a bit.
No worries.
Of Alexander and the inquiring Romans ensured that the idea went mainstream. Now that the round Earth model was more commonly accepted, further...
Who cares? So what, based on how many people are indoctrinated into this belief? Okay, that's not a good starting point to make the statement.
Inquiries about the details of its shape could be made. One of the primary questions would be about its size. This would be...
Nope, definitely not. The reversing of the engineering of a globe Earth led us to the origins of the measurement to give you the size at radius 3959. It has to be that way, because the back engineering via Haversine came from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris. And for them to work, it has to be exact when you convert it to a sphere model. It has to be radius 3959 for that very reason.
Answered by the Greek astronomer Eratosthenes in the 3rd century BC using a simple stick. His clever experiment involved measuring the
Not an experiment. Back to Muppet View. It's not an experiment. An experiment establishes the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis, that's a scientific prediction, that has a null, if A, then B, and, no, sorry, if A, not B, and an alternative, that would be your suppositional cause proving true, if A, then B. B being the phenomena you observe in step 1. Oh, what's that happening? I wonder why that happened, is what you will say at the start of the method. You will then say, I think this caused that to happen. That's half of a hypothesis. Alongside it, you'll say, I think what I assume caused the effect won't cause the effect. That's a null, if A, not B. Then you vary A and see if it causes B. That's an experiment. After you validate that A causes B, you can form a theory. This is not that.
the angles of shadows between two.
Well, it's not a measurement.
What did he just say? Did he just say angles? Oh, this is not going to end well. Go on, whoever that is.
Well, I was going to say it's not an experiment, but it is a measurement. It's an elevation angle measurement, what he's getting ready to detail.
And you spoiled the ending. That's right. This is going to prove a flat Earth in the same way as globe Earth with a stick in it isn't creating an angle. Because this bit's a curved surface. You know what you're going to need for these angles? You're going to need a flat Earth for this, my friend.
Two distant points at the same time. The basic idea here was that if the sun was very far away, its rays would be hitting the Earth practically parallel to one another.
Really? See, it's interesting because recently we covered the fact that the moon produces the exact same shadows. Isn't that interesting? Just saying.
Thus, if the Earth was curved, the result would be a difference in the angles of shadows cast by the sun.
No, you see, these aren't angles up here, right? Because the line is meeting a curved surface. Oh, what's this? Oh, are you going to take it to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth so that you can do the angles off an equatorial plane? But that would mean that you're standing in the centre of a molten iron core that's just reverse direction. And then working with a flat map at the equatorial plane so that you can get angles. But we don't stand in the centre of a sphere Earth, radius 3959, to get angles to work because the curved surface won't give you them. I mean, we don't do that. I mean, what will work is if you just measure the angles off a curved surface. No. Off a flat surface? Yeah! That's what an angle is. Two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Not one straight line and one curved line. That's not how this works, my friend. Yeah? Notice how there's no tunnels to the centre of his Earth in this diagram at the bottom. Where's the tunnel to the centre of Earth? So you can use an equatorial plane to bastardise these maths that require a flat plane to get the angle. You not got the tunnel in the diagram? So why is it up here? What's this for? Oh, right, you'd need to know where the centre was also, wouldn't you? So you'd need to acquire an R value in the first instance. And well, that kind of needs you to measure a geometric limitation at the view at the horizon like Al-Biruni did to get this value here. Yeah, not that you're digging a tunnel to get to the equatorial plane to actually make this work. But to get this value, you're going to need Al-Biruni to measure a geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer sine phi at the horizon that boats fall over. Yeah, we debunked that. You're not going to presuppose that these angles move to the centre of a sphere Earth at the radius value when we've debunked the radius value because you can't measure it. So this is riddled. Also, proving a flat Earth because you can get angles and do when you measure them for celestial navigation. It's the only way it can work and does work and still is used to this day. Off a flat plane.
This
By
is
measuring the difference.
Nathan.
Yes.
This is I have a picture of Master D. This is their drum Earth. Right here in this picture. And you're on a good point if you want to show it.
Oh, this is epic. Yes, yes, yes. So this is what he was talking about when he said drum Earth. Yeah, when I said he's moving to the centre of the equatorial plane, in the centre, to move the angles down to get them to work off a flat plane. That's when you're standing in the middle of a molten iron core. And what do you know? We've got a diagram of a boat, very much alluding to Earth being a sphere, but at the centre on a flat plane. Oh, isn't that interesting? It's because it's the only way this works. Thanks, 10th. That was epic. Good timing. That's how ace my panel is. Gotta hand it to him.
One could determine the radial angle between the 2 points.
Sorry, radial angle? So you're gonna need a radius? Epic timing.
Additionally, one could also determine the arc length between the same 2 points by measuring.
Not without a radius. And you're gonna need Al-Biruni's geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet for boat to fall over. Definitely been debunked in 2020. It's not a hill in the way. We can show it beyond where a hill would be in the way.
Measuring the distance along the surface between them.
Along the surface? What, where you get the angles from? Oh dear, can't get an angle from the surface if it's curved. Yeah, this doesn't work. He's standing on the surface, isn't he? But he's still got angles. Right, but what, you're going to determine the radial value of those angles? No. No, that's a presuppositional angle to the centre that he isn't measuring. But he has definitely still got an angle, hasn't he? Well, he got it from a flat plane. That's the only way you can get an angle. It's 2 straight lines meeting a vertex. It's the only way he could do this. He had to get the angle somehow, and he got it off a flat Earth. Same as mapping and measuring stars. That's how it's done. This needs a flat Earth. You're proving a flat Earth, Invicta. Another shout out, man. There's been loads of super chats today. Thank you very much for all this support, guys. Really, really appreciate it. I had hoped that the Cursory Ancient History Tour was a lame attempt to gain credibility prior to the real argument to come. But now I feel this is all he's got. Now, this is all he's got, Retro Bill. Thank you very much for the super chat, but you're right on the money. No, it's an appeal to authority fallacy. These people aren't subject matter experts in the measurements of Earth as a sphere. So what are they? Well, they're not an authority, therefore this is an appeal to authority fallacy. What reason has he got to trust these people in regards to their musings on the quote-unquote shape of the Earth, as he, by his own instinct within his intro, described looking over a flat plane? You know, he hasn't. It's appeal to authority fallacy.
These 2 measurements, one could then use this ratio to calculate the circumference of the Earth. With his theory in place, Eratosthenes then went about conducting the experiment.
What, measuring the angles of a flat plane? Not an experiment.
He chose as his 2 locations the cities of Syene and Alexandria. The first point was Syene, where he knew that at noon on the summer solstice, the sun was directly overhead and shone down a deep well. Back in Alexandria, he planted a vertical rod at the same time of day. Using the length of the rod, the shadow, and trigonometry,
and a flat plane. He's going to need the flat plane. Yeah. You can presuppose a radius value, but we've debunked it. But in terms of the acquisition of the angles, he's going to need a flat plane to do it.
Calculated that the angle of the sun's rays were 7 degrees.
Off a flat plane.
Plugging this into our formula, he knew that the distance between himself and Syene would be about 1/50th the circumference of the Earth. Eratosthenes then quickly referred to the results of surveying trips, which reported the value to be 5,000 stadia. Therefore, he concluded, the Earth's
the surface violates the very way that they measured how many stadia it was, which he doesn't give us either. Yeah, this is a flat Earth proof. Elevation angle measurements prove Earth is flat.
Circumference must be about 250.
Hang on, Nathan.
Yeah.
So he said, I think he said 500 miles away, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So 500 miles away in Alexandria. But it was a little thing he said at the beginning. It was noon at the summer solstice. Okay. So what's going to happen if you're somewhere else and not directly under the sun? You're going to have an angle to it, just like the celestial navigation. He's not saying anything other than what we've already proven, that it could only work on a flat plane.
Precisely. With that, I am going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined us at Patreon, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you are watching on either Programming stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Just call him on Skype directly. He's not on the show.
What's up?
What minute mark are you on, Nathan, so I can remind you tomorrow?
10:10.
Got it. All right, good show.
Yeah, I can't believe we only made it another 6 minutes into the video. That's dire. We're never going to get to the end.
No,
Part
it's
three.
good.
every
Yeah.
10 seconds.
Well, you're looking at it all the wrong way. You're trying to rush through them. When the slower you go, the more educational they are, and you're training people.
Yeah, maybe.
Not maybe. Ask the panel. Ask the panel.
Is it good that we take 3 days to cover one 14-minute video?
Yes. Hello.
Well, we did do housekeeping and a bunch of other stuff, and other people chiming in and stuff, so it's to be expected.
Yeah, I suppose. If we only get 1 or 2 videos covered a week, then so be it.
Better to do it properly and consistently each one so that everyone starts imitating and mimicking the best way to destroy these ball earth arguments.
But look at the bright side. This time we had at least animation, so that's cool. Animation that was full of shit, but you know.
Yeah, he had the orthographic view and saying things that didn't match the picture, and that was pretty funny.
Did you see the video I made? The guy who bought the PC for me said he'd quite appreciate if there was a nice video being made by me, because then it would hopefully lead people to the channel who are looking at interesting and quirky PCs, or expensive PCs, or silent PCs, or whatever it's got that's unique, which is a lot. But I never got around to it. I did a little short video just showing it what it looked like, but never really got around to making a full video covering what it does and showing the insides of it and showing a before and after comparison with all the mods I've done. But I did do that today, so I've published that this morning. So if you want to check that out, for all of you who have been absolutely on the edge of your seats when I talk about the PC, which I'm sure there's loads of you. Yeah, my fanless PC has now got 6 fans in it.
I bet you could do another YouTube channel just on that passion of yours to get everything just right so that you can put on a stellar show.
Okay, it's not a passion of mine. I
I
don't like
remember Nathan
computers
saying
particularly.
he's not
It's not
supposed
something I
to know
like.
this.
I'm not fond of them. So just to put that into context, when I was just more or less an adult, but out on my own, I'd left home and all the rest of it. Still a kid technically, but my folks who'd run a computer shop for many, many, many years, very successful, turning over a shitload of money, said, "Do you want it?" They offered it to all of us. All 3 of their kids were offered it, and all of us said no. None of us wanted it because we all hated computers by the time that they sold the business, and none of us liked them.
Why is that?
That's what I wanted.
It's just one of those, like anything, unless you truly love the thing that you work in, you kind of grow to resent it. So I'm, in that regard, very, very privileged to work. There's plenty of downsides to doing what I do here on YouTube because of the subject we cover, but I still do what I love. It's what I went to college to learn, and I feel very privileged to actually be able to put into effect when you assessing what do I want to do in further education, or what do I want to be when I'm older, when I'm grown up, right? Well, I assessed all those things and wanted to be in performing arts and technical theatre, which is precisely what I'm doing. I'm performing to a camera and everything around me is technical. And because it's a one-man band, like everyone on YouTube, you've got to be proficient in both those 2 very specific areas that I trained for in college, along with media studies and cinematography and various other things, editing. All the things I studied at college are directly applicable to what I do now. And why did I do them at college? Because I wanted to do them. So I'm lucky, very, very lucky. But for my folks and various other people who have their own businesses, they don't necessarily go, "Oh, I really want to do carpet cleaning because I love carpets and the dirt that comes out." No, nobody's doing that, generally speaking. I'm just privileged in that regard. So, but I don't love
Can you
computers.
imagine kids now, though?
Sorry?
Saying, "Oh man, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a flat earther."
Well, no, I want to be a YouTuber would be the only career I could think of other than one-man band. I can't even think of another example other than the parallels with things like TikTok that directly applies all of the things I learned how to do. I can't think of another example.
Nathan, that's
I
not
think
what
YouTube
I
killed
was.
PC repair.
That's not what I was referencing, Nathan.
Hold on a second, 10th. What did you say, Gene?
I said I think YouTube killed PC repair and a bunch of other industries. All the DIY stuff. I mean, YouTube killed it.
Maybe. I mean, certainly the guy that I know that repaired this PC and helped me put it to a functional standard has got a successful business in a retail shop, which is expensive, right? And he's there and been there for 20 years.
And
does quite nicely.
30 YouTubers that could have done the same thing over the phone. But it's just that he had hands on.
I think he'd disagree. He'd say that yes, that's true, but 15 of those 20 phoned me up afterwards and went, I tried to put liquid metal on my CPU and now it's not working. And they bring it down to him and he goes, yeah, I can fix that. No worries, don't worry, we'll book it in. When people have ballsed it up because a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Me, having, like I say, grown up around computers, built them from an early age, like when I was a kid, when there was a rush on, all hands were on deck, and me included, where I was seating RAM and upgrading computers and building them so they could go out the door to customers. So I could do it with my eyes closed. Do I service this computer? No, I took it to somebody who knows more than I do. So if he breaks something, he's got a microscope and he's got all the tools all laid out, precise sizes for computers. Do I have any of that? Nah, just the knowledge of how to roughly do it. I'd rather give it to him. The guy who watches a YouTube video and goes, I can do that. It's just like Lego. They're the guy on the phone to him going, yeah, it won't boot. It just keeps blue screen. That's the guy that he gets.
Can I ask a question?
Good.
Did your parents have a computer shop with all the tools needed to fix computers?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you would have taken that on and not had such a disdain for it, you would be covering both angles right now, Nathan. A YouTube channel.
I could have done that. I could have done a number of things. When I was a rep, I was doing, yes, it's not computers, but audio. I like, because I trained alongside musicians, music. And when I was doing technical theatre, it involved the musos as much as it did the lovies. So it was kind of unbiased in that regard. Well, that was the aspect of my career that also came from college, going out and selling amps to studios and selling them to retail outlets and all that sort of stuff as a rep. Well, that was great, and James Bond and all flying around all over the country, and most of the, if not all of the stories have come from that job. But did I love that job? No. It was still just a job. It wasn't really my passion. Yeah, it's stuff that I like, and I like listening to music, but is that the same as going out and putting in the sweat and the blood and the closing the deals and building up the relationships and building up the accounts? That's the job. The fact that you like listening to music on a good stereo and you're selling a good stereo to your next man doesn't mean that that's suddenly a really passion-filled job. You know, 1 in every 1,000 minutes of the job, you might actually get to listen to a CD with a customer, but it's a very small chunk of the time.
Am I still in the queue?
Yeah, go ahead, 10th. Sorry, Gene, 1 sec.
Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, your parents owned that business. It was their business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me finish what I was trying to say. And you and your brothers and sisters were called on all hands on deck when business was booming. They had labor in the kids, and you saw how hard they worked and the hours they put in, and you made a decision. This isn't what I want to do. And it's very normal because entrepreneurs, children, normally do not follow in their footsteps because they, from a young child age, were called in because it's their business and they don't have money to hire someone else. So the kids come in, they see mom and dad go out early, come late, lots of sacrifice. They say, no, I want freedom. I don't want to take over the business, mom, dad. And I've seen this a lot in the people that I know who have their business. Their kids don't want their business because they don't understand what comes at the end of that, which is you do all that and you get to sell it and you have the freedom. They want the freedom while you're supposed to be working hard to gain the freedom. They don't get it yet.
Yeah, but I agree with everything you said in hindsight. I totally agree. However, even in hindsight, I wouldn't have made a different decision, even knowing what a valuable asset it was and how much money it could have given me. Because at a different point in my life, when I was earning good money as a rep, I went, I now have to make a decision. Do I want to continue this life with limited time and loads of money and great gadgets to show for it, but very little time, or the polar opposite, very little money, but lots of time to enjoy life? And I chose the latter.
Yeah. No, each has its own context, and it's not across the board. Everybody does that, but that's what I've observed. What were you going to say, Adam?
My kids rejected the businesses I built.
Into your mic.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can when you're talking to your mic.
Yeah, so my kids did the same. They had the opportunity to take on mine, and I said, nah, not interested.
But were they raised in it though? Like, were they with you day in, day out in the business? They know it, like the back of their hand.
Never a personal vested interest. I mean, if they were heroin addicts, maybe they'd have had a different attitude.
They'd be on it, wouldn't they?
I was just going to say the same thing. They don't
They've helped out the odd day in the shop, but they didn't live there. It's just the incomes Dad had. So there's not like Nathan's where he was sick of the sight of it. Just want to do their own thing.
But there's two different things here, though. Is it just because the parents' business, or were they day in and day out, knew it like the back of the hand? They knew everything about the business. It's just that they lived it, so they don't want anything to do with it.
It wasn't with that involved. It's just, you see your parents, as Adam or Tenth described, putting all their heart and soul into that, which means they've got no time. So I watched what time poor and cash rich is when I was growing up. So the fact that it was computing, it wouldn't make any difference. Before they did that, they were selling groceries. So it doesn't matter what the item is. It's just a business, right?
I was backwards on that one. I was just lived it. So whenever it was time for me, I said nope. Just because just like you said, time poor and cash rich.
Right, which is the choice that most people in normal middle of the road society have to make. Don't get me wrong, there's people at the other end of the extreme that don't have the privilege, or the privilege is very much just upon them whether they want it or not, and they get to live in the height of luxury without giving it a second thought, and all the businesses they inherit just run themselves, with very little input.
Oh, I had one question. One thing I wanted to point out, Nathan, since you know about music and stuff like that. Forgive me if I stray from the subject, though.
That's all right.
Are you familiar with that HBO show Westworld?
I've heard of Westworld. I've never seen it. I don't know. I haven't had a telly for years.
Okay, anything. There's this music composer on there, and I never paid attention. I barely know who the hell Hans Zimmer is.
I know Hans Zimmer.
But there was this guy. Yeah, so there was this guy that he did the soundtrack named Ramin Dawji. I don't know, some Israel guy. But I didn't know nothing about Rolling Stones, and he just composed the melody of a song called Painted Black. Of course, you guys know what it is. I had never heard this song, but I found myself humming it throughout the day, and then I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Man, that's a real cool sound." So I looked up Westworld, and then I found out, hey, this is a melody of a song called Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, and I never knew that. But I just thought it was cool. I thought it was an original production by him, but it's just that he took the melody of it and just incorporated it with different sounds into the show Westworld. I don't know, just a little thing I want to throw out there.
Yeah,
hey man, I'm just a dude from Texas.
Not everyone knows the 60s and 70s origins of, in this case.
Take everybody out there.
Okay. You're a different generation to us, Neil. I'm sorry.
Trying to say it, old man.
Be grateful you're not talking to some dumbass Gen Z flat Earth kid.
You're doing a pretty good job. Neil, you're doing a pretty good job yourself. No one's saying anything.
I see a red door and I want to face.
Hey, don't get me a copyright strike. This is not going to get monetized as a cover.
I don't think that would have sold one record right there.
Doesn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah.
What's crazy is they
Exactly.
never sing it. They never sing it in the show. It's just the sound with thing done with violins and pianos. And I just thought it was catchy, but I never did I think that that was a big hit song. Just that, that's the power of not knowing.
Well, that's the beauty of I grew up in the 60s music, 70s music, all the way to now, obviously, but I hear things I go, hey, that reminds me of that song. And sure enough, what you find out is what I find out.
Now we're just blatant copies, though.
Did you ever see A Star Is Born, the new one with Lady Gaga? Well, the character that, what's his name? I forget the actor's name. He explains that music is just 12 notes, and it's how you interpret them and communicate them 12 notes. What's important.
I also had a question just throw out there to you guys while we finish this off. What is original thought? Or are we
I'm not
just
telling.
interpretations of everything?
Maybe just giving you some profound answers, I'm
Original
afraid.
thought is basically an idea that has been detected for the first time historically. I mean, I am convinced that ideas keep popping up historically over and over again. It's just, yeah, we only
Brian
have
gets
so
that
much
2 weeks
history
earlier.
to tap from, but that's what it's based on, basically. Original ideas.
The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, right? Does it say that in Ecclesiastes?
What's going on here? We're talking thoughts or history or what? I mean, if I have a thought and I think it, to me, that's original. If I run into Nathan one day, he says, yeah, I thought about that too. And I say, oh, so you had the same thought. That doesn't mean it wasn't original to me. I didn't copy Nathan.
But in your subconscious, maybe you've heard the song, like many musicians today make a song and they don't know that they actually copied a song they heard from their childhood.
Right, but that's just making it up yourself. That's not what an original thought is supposed to mean, actually. That's just an original thought.
Well, hold on, Owen. Brian says that you have stolen his thoughts many of times. We thought stealer.
No, I keep... Your sound is terrible, Neil.
Yeah, it is.
I barely make up what you're saying.
I feel like
He's
it's
on the
him
road,
and
don't worry
Brian
about it.
mixed together.
He's on the road. Don't worry about it.
Anywho, hip hip cheerio. See you guys later.
See you later. Is that it? Is that the end of the live show? Looks like it.
Pretty much.
No?
After show, not
After
the live
show.
show. The after show.
Well, there's a impromptu gap. I don't mind rounding out the live. I keep saying live. After show early. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!